Welcome everyone to episode 8 of Electronic Talks podcast. Today we have a very special guest who's been traveling between the classical and the modern. He started out in the chiptune scene and now he has been performing under the name of Bård for many years and several albums. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I really enjoy this serious winter weather that we have had in Stockholm the past week.
Yeah, it's like so thick, the snow right now.
It's really nice. And when the sun is out, and the sun was basically not out for 2 months, it felt like in November, December. So that lifts the spirits.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. And it becomes brighter with the snow as well.
Yeah, totally.
So it's so great to have you here. I've been listening to your music for almost a decade, I would say, and I've been following your music very closely and seen all of the development. And I really love it. So very happy to have you here.
Thank you very much.
And I thought maybe we could start a little bit from the beginning, because you kind of started out when you were very, very young in the chiptune scene.
Yes,
under the name of Multifaros. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. So I had been playing some instruments before that in music school. So I was already a bit into music and playing in bands and stuff. But when when I was 14, 15, I started to. I was very interested in retro game consoles and stuff. And I came across this music genre called chiptune.
Which basically sounds like a 8-bit Nintendo system, right? Yeah.
I think even for the genre chiptune, it's very important that you actually make the music in old computers or video game systems.
Yes.
If you are true, so to say. So I ordered a music program for a Nintendo Game Boy, the first version of the Nintendo Game Boy. It's a music program called Little Sound DJ, made by a Swedish guy actually, Johan Kotlinski. And I started making songs on my Game Boy.
Okay.
And which is not very intuitive. It's a very good program, but the screen has its limitations. So it's a kind of hard to get into.
It takes a long time to compose a track.
Yeah, it does. Just to navigate all the different parts of the programs is not very easy. So I started making music with the Game Boy, and also around the same time I started using Propellerhead Reason, which is also a Swedish music software. So I started making these chiptunes, and I released them at net labels, which was a big thing in this scene.
Yeah.
So it was a very fast release process. You could send an album to a net label, and if they wanted to release it, it was up like a week later.
Yeah. Around what year would this have been?
This was around, I would say, 2006, 2005, 2006.
Yes.
And I was 15 years old, and I was very eager to release music. So I started releasing a lot of music as Multifaros. I think I released like 4 albums every year or something, and just throwing things out there. It was more quantity than quality, maybe, when I look back at it. But quite a few people listened to it, and I even got to go on some tours when I was like 17 maybe.
Yeah,
I played in Italy and Sweden, of course, and Norway and Netherlands. So it was a really fun time, and it was really interesting to be a part of this small weird chiptune scene.
Yeah,
and some of my big inspirations that got me into electronic music, like Go to 80 is a guy that I still listen to a lot. He's been doing music with Commodore 64 for like 20 years. He's a really really great guy.
And that you did as a solo project, and then you created this group with some friends called Stay Ali, right?
So just like 2 years after I started making music on my own, I started making some music with my two closest friends at the time, Johan and Elias. Well, still two of my closest friends. We were very inspired by this band, Slagsmålsklubben, I would say. They were very big among teenagers in Stockholm at the time. So inspired by them, we started making this kind of naive electro music. I don't really know what to call the genre, but it was very like playful and kind of lo-fi, because we didn't know how to make it sound good. So it was unintentional lo-fi maybe. But and we were playing a lot of shows in Stockholm when we were in high school with this band.
You seem to be very open-minded and like trying out different sounds and mixing different production techniques and everything back in that time.
Yeah, we were really, and we had an approach to the music that I can kind of miss, because it was a lot about making funny songs, and like we didn't take ourselves very seriously, I think, which was why it kind of worked, because we weren't very good at like making it sound really really good. It was more about just making weird funny songs. And the same thing for the live concerts. It wasn't like this cool DJ setup. It was more like just three silly teenage guys on the scene. And it was a really fun time.
I think so, and I really love kind of the towards the end you did this EP called Buster, which I think is magnificent.
Thank you. I was I really liked that EP as well, and we made it like long time after we were playing a lot, so that EP would get a bit forgotten, I think. But when we did that, both me and the other guys had like more experience with music production, so that then the music actually started to sound a bit better as well.
Definitely. And throughout this whole process, you mentioned that you went to music school, and you even started out like as in the choir. Is that correct?
I guess you could say I started out in a choir, but no, I was in a choir when I was like 4 years old, but I really hated it. Apparently, I don't even remember, but that's what my mom told me. But I started playing double bass when I was 8 or 9 years old, and it's still my main thing that I do now, that I work with. So that was how I started playing music. In the Kulturskolan. I don't know the English term for that, but it's like a music school you go to after regular school once a week.
And why the double bass?
Because I actually wanted to play guitar or drums, but the line start playing. Like there were so many kids who wanted to play drums or guitar.
Yeah.
So you had to wait for a year to get started. And then my mom said, "Well, if you play double bass, you can start next week."
Okay.
And I was like, "Oh, all right." But
so
I'm
kind of a
actually-
happenstance in some ways.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am. I'm actually really happy about that because, like work-wise, and especially in classical music, double bass is pretty good, and you can also play different genres. You can play jazz or folk music or pop music.
That's
so
great.
it's a really nice instrument.
And you went on to even study that at the conservatory, or
I went to when I was 18. I started at the Royal College of Music in Stockholm, and I went there for 5 years. So I still haven't gotten my master's degree. I have to send in some
paperwork.
I have to send in some paperwork.
That's a classic.
But,
You did it, but it's just the last paperwork. Yeah.
But no one ever asks for my what do you call it?
Degree or
So
doesn't
we'll
make that
see.
big of a difference. Yeah.
One day maybe.
Yes. and that in turn has led to that you actually have a career like working pretty much full time in an orchestra.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes. I've been since I graduated in 2015. Even a couple of years before that, I've been working full time as a freelancing double bass player. So it's mostly opera and symphony orchestra.
Yes.
In Stockholm.
Yeah.
But also like studio gigs and different things.
Excellent. I'm just interested to get into that because I think most people, they know you by your artist name Bård.
Yeah.
Boerd, and that's how you have published your music for many years. And your last album was actually called Misplaced.
Yep.
It was released at the end of December 2019. Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Could you tell us a little bit about the title of that album?
Yeah, I think titles are really hard when it comes to electronic music, especially when the music I make, which is mainly instrumental. Like you have no lyrics to get inspiration for the titles.
Yeah.
So the titles are usually the last thing I do when I make songs, and sometimes I get really stuck on that. And I think for the title of this album, I was really pushing the limit of how far they needed that title. It was like the last hour that I told them that I wanted it to be called Misplaced. But I in the end I kind of like the title because it's this feeling of not thinking you're in the right place, and this like uncertainness of life in general. Yeah, which is like it can be both good and bad, but I think that's a big part of my life and my music, and also just by chance this album cover photo that I got also kind of works with the title because of these shares that ended up in the swimming pool there.
Could you tell us a little bit more about that photo, where it comes from? Yeah,
it's by a photographer called Tim Darin. I'm not sure how to pronounce that, but I don't know him personally, but he was on a trip to Japan with a girl that I know, and I saw these pictures that they had taken when they were at this abandoned amusement park. And so I contacted him and asked if I could use any of the photos for my album. So I ended up choosing this one, and it's a really, really cool photo, I think. And
you've been playing in Japan too, as well, right?
Yes, I have. Well, I was there last when was it? I can't remember.
Yeah.
I was there a year or two ago with the Royal Philharmonic actually on a tour playing bass. But then my record label hooked me up with another guy from the label who has an artist, a Japanese guy called Likos Koris. Oh, I can't pronounce that name either. Anyway, he got me a little gig there at the same week as I was playing with the Philharmonic, which was really nice. But yeah, Japan is one of my favorite countries to go to, so I'd really love to go back there soon when this shit is over.
Yeah, definitely. I think we all can't wait to go get out there and travel again.
Yeah.
I think many people would describe your sound as possibly a little bit melancholic.
Yeah.
And your tracks are often in a slower BPM and quite down tempo, and many people would maybe also describe them as relaxing.
Yeah.
And that's also the case with Misplaced. Could you describe a little bit your process of tuning into these emotions and turning them into songs?
It's really it seems like whatever kind of music I try to do, I usually end up in that place, the like melancholic and slow, which I also like, but it's not entirely what I'm aiming for all the time. But a lot of times I will be thinking like, I'm going to do a club track, and then I start finding a sound, and then I'm like, oh, this is really beautiful. What if I slow it down? And then I end up doing another sad, slow song. But so the process is usually, it's actually based a lot on improvisations. So I might just sit at the piano and record for a couple of minutes. Yeah. And then I go into Ableton and I find small pieces that I like and start chopping them up and slowing them down and whatever, just morphing the sound. Yeah. And the same thing with guitars and voices and stuff. And so I really don't use a lot of synthesizers. It's most of the sounds are stuff that I recorded myself, but that I have processed so much that it doesn't sound like the original instrument anymore.
Exactly. It's kind of hard sometimes to identify.
Yeah. So that's usually how I start making a song. I find a little piece of something that I have played, and then I start working around that and creating like a sound escape. And then then I just keep going. And of course you throw away like 9 out of 10 projects that you start, probably even more.
I read in an interview with Billboard magazine that you sometimes go up to a cabin in the north or something, a family house. Is that a special place for you?
Yeah, I think most of the songs on the latest album were more or less made up there. It's not really a cabin. It's actually an old school from that my mom and her brother and sister bought 8 years ago or something. But I have a very simple music studio up there. So I try to spend as much time as I can up there, especially during the summers. Yeah, it's the music studio is in a part of the house where it's really hard to heat it up during the winter. So unfortunately, I can't really work there during the winter. But it's really nice to sit and work up there.
Yeah, it almost seems like it's these kind of northern feeling is reflected in the album as well.
Yeah,
in some ways.
maybe. I've always felt some sort of connection to the northern parts of Sweden, for sure.
And another progression that you kind of notice when you follow the sound that you've had in your songs as Bård has been going from instrumental to including more and more vocals. Could you tell us a little bit about that journey and why, like when you took the first step to bringing vocals into your music?
Yeah, I think I have many times when I've made an instrumental song, I've been thinking it would be nice with vocals on this, and I wonder who can do vocals. But then I've been usually too eager to finish the song that I've haven't contacted singers, and because it's not a very easy process to find singers that you like their voice and you also like the stuff that they come up with.
Yeah.
And but the past few years I have started doing that a bit more. For this last album, it was with a singer called Stella Explorer, and so we're working on new things as well.
Okay, great.
And then for the earlier Bård stuff, it was Ellen Arkbro, and yeah, I've also sung myself on two recent songs.
Was that Blind one of them, or
yeah, Blind and It Fades Away.
Yes.
But I really don't want to be a singer. It's more a nödlösning. What do you call that?
Like emergency solution or something. Yeah.
That I've just been in the studio and I came up with this vocal line, and then I recorded it because I wanted to get it done, and then I started working on it, and I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, this sounds all right, and then that ended up being the song.
Yeah.
But I don't want to become I don't want to be an artist in that sense, doing music videos where you're singing, and singing live isn't something that I enjoy very much. And but it's been interesting, and I might do it again. But we'll see. I also love the part where you send a song to a singer, and then you let them come up with the melody.
Yes.
Because it's usually something completely different than you would have come up with yourself.
Yeah.
So for the song Before We Drown on the Misplaced album, I sent the instrumental to Stella, and she responded with this. She just made a demo vocal, and that actually ended up being the very recording that is on the album
that you used.
Because I just thought it was so good, and it was because I had been trying to come up with a vocal for that song, but then she came up with this completely different thing. So that's a lot of fun to do.
Yeah, that's an interesting part of your development, I think. And one other thing that is super interesting is that compared to many people who might be into this kind of electronic music, you are classically schooled. And I've always been wondering, how do you kind of fuse the identity between the classical and the electronic within you? How does that work for you? Is it a hard thing, or
you mean technically when I'm making music, or on a
more personal level?
Yeah. That's a good question. I think when I've been working in orchestras and opera, a lot of my colleagues don't know that I'm making electronic music. It's not something I talk about a lot. But then when they discover that I'm making music, they're usually very interested. And but it's most of my colleagues are 50, 60 years old, and it's a completely unknown world to a lot of them, which I think is fun. And But for me personally, I don't really know like where my identity is. If it's more like a classical musician or electronic musician.
Yeah.
I guess really it's 50-50. And I can't imagine doing just one of them at the moment, because playing bass in an orchestra is a lot of fun. It's like the best job you can have, but it's not very creative in a sense, because you have your music that you're going to play, and you studied 5 years to be able to play it exactly like the conductor wants. So it's more of a craftsmanship, I think.
Yes.
And for me, I always had a big urge to like make my own things, and surprisingly, there's a lot of classical musicians who never seem to have that feeling. Yeah, they are completely fine with just playing the music in the orchestra, which I think is completely fine as well. But for me, that's never been enough. Yeah, kind of. So I've always wanted to do my own thing as well.
Yeah. I listened to a rendition of Arvo Pärt song that you did, that you published on your SoundCloud, which I would recommend everyone to listen to.
My other SoundCloud.
Your other SoundCloud, yeah, but I think you reposted it on the Bård song.
Maybe possibly. I did.
Yeah,
yeah, I did.
But anyways, it's a great track, and I love your rendition of it. Could you tell me a little bit about why you chose that composer Arvo Pärt and that track, and what's your relationship to it?
That I recorded that song was really just like me being very bored, no pun intended, in these Corona situation. So I was just in my studio and I started playing that song a little bit, and then I was like, it would be a good challenge to try to record this, because it's not made for double bass. It's made for violin or cello. I think maybe violin originally.
What is the track name called
again? Spiegel im Spiegel.
Spiegel im Spiegel. Yes.
So I just recorded it for fun, really, or just as a way to keep myself in shape a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like a project. Yeah. And then I made the piano part in Ableton, and I.
You did the whole arrangement?
No, it's written for piano and double bass.
Oh yeah.
No, piano and violin. Yeah. So there is a real piano part that I just took the notes and I threw them into Ableton, and then I put it together there.
Yeah, no, I was blown away by that. We'll definitely we'll add a link to that one in the description as well, for sure.
Yeah, it's a very, very beautiful composition.
Yes, Arvo Pärt is a master.
Yeah,
truly,
absolutely.
And to move in a little bit on the electronic again, you've been releasing on your albums on mostly the same label.
Yeah, at least for the last 3 years.
For the last 3 years. Could you tell a little bit about your relationship with them?
Yeah. So Anjuna Deep is the name of the label, and it's a. Do you say daughter label on English, or is that a Swedish thing?
I guess so.
Yeah, of a label called Anjuna Beats, which has been around since I think even the 90s.
Yeah,
it was a trance label from the beginning, but Anjuna Deep. They contacted me a couple of years ago and asked if I wanted to do something with them, and just by chance I had this album Static more or less finished.
Okay, yeah.
So I sent them that, and they wanted to release it. So it was kind of a quick start between us.
Great.
And I was kind of surprised that they contacted me, because at the time, at least, they were very focused on deep house, which is
Okay.
their main thing,
Yeah.
and they have been doing that for years, and they're doing really good in that scene. They have a lot of like a big fan base of the label,
Yeah.
which is fun. But so I was a bit surprised that they wanted to release this really slow and depressing album. But they wanted to, and I think that the label want to reach out and start releasing other kinds of music, because since I released this album, they have been doing that more.
Yeah.
But they're based in London. They're really great people to work with. So I released the next album with them as well.
Yeah.
Misplaced. And actually, I'm each year they have this compilation that comes out with new original music from the label.
Yes.
So I have a new single coming out on Friday.
Oh, really?
Which might be the day this is uploaded or not.
Yes, exactly. So Friday. So today for sure we'll link that as well for the people who want to purchase it. Yeah. What's the track name called?
The track is called Flower. And there was the same thing there with the title. I changed it the last second.
So why Flower then?
I don't know.
Oh.
It's a nice word. It's a completely more or less instrumental track. It has no lyrics in it, so that makes it even harder, because you can call it really whatever you want.
Yeah.
But it's called Flower, and it's the first track on this CD that comes out on Friday.
Excellent.
It's a 3 CD compilation. So they have released the first CD 2 weeks ago, and then the second one, and then the last part comes on Friday.
I see.
So it's going to be interesting. I don't know, because it's like the compilation is made like a mix.
Oh yeah.
So it's always interesting to hear how they mixed my song into the mix, because it's a pretty slow song and the rest of the compilation is more up tempo. So it'll be fun to hear.
That'll be exciting.
How they did that.
Yes. Very exciting.
Yeah.
Just to get into another aspect of your music, I remember one of your earlier albums called Dual.
Yep.
You had a track called Mantra, I believe. And I've heard you describe your songs in that term before as well. Like it's kind of like a mantra or something like that. Are you into that kind of stuff, or
no? Well, could you elaborate on?
No, because it's like you incorporate in an instance in that song, you have these kind of loops and repetitions, and it seems like a way of working for you that you like a lot.
No, okay, I get it. No, for sure. I'm interested in minimal music, which has a lot of this kind of mantra thing where you repeat something a lot. But I think during the years, my songs have, in a sense, become more simple in a way that, like for 8 years ago when I made a song, I always felt that it was important to have like here's one part, and then it has to come something else, like a different chord progression, and then there's a break where it's a different part, and then there's a new part in the end. But these days I don't feel that's as important. Actually, most of the songs that I listen to and that I like a lot is songs that are based around one idea, one like set of mind kind of thing. And I mean, a song is only 4 minutes. You can listen to one thing in 4 minutes.
For sure.
Of course there are, and I like when the base of the song is kind of repetitive, but then there are a lot of small things that happen.
Yes.
So I think my music contains a lot of small details, which I'm not sure people can even notice, but at least that's how I work with it. And yeah, I don't even remember the original question, but
no.
That's my
But we were
answer.
talking about the looping and mantras and so on.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you just think on the top of your head, it would be quite interesting to know for you personally, like what has been your musical inspiration?
It's really a combination of very different things. Of course, classical music has been a huge inspiration. Not in the sense that I tried to make electronic music that sound like classical music or anything like that, but just playing opera and symphony orchestra all day long.
Yeah.
I get ideas and I hear different chord progressions and things that I like. So I'm definitely inspired a lot by classical music. And then with electronic music, I think a lot of the British electronic music has been very important to me, like Massive Attack and Aphex Twin and Burial. Some of my big inspirations there.
Yeah.
And yeah, and then I listen to all kinds of different music, but it's kind of hard to tell what is music that I just like and what is inspiring me in a sense, because I listen a lot to like Cornelis Vreeswijk or
right.
So, but I wouldn't say that's an inspiration when I make my own songs, but who knows, it might be as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And what would you say has been the driving force for you to keep on making your own music through all these years?
It's just this this feeling that you have something inside you that needs to get out, kind of. And always when I'm alone or when I'm trying to sleep, not always, but many times I'm thinking in about what I want to do with music and what feelings I want to express. And I don't know, it's just always been a big part of my life. And I also really love the process of making music, not on a like a existential level, just more like just the craftsmanship of putting things together and organizing sounds. And it's something I enjoy a lot. So it's a combination of those two, I guess.
Yeah.
And of course, it's always fun when people are listening to your songs.
Yeah.
That's also, I mean, I would be lying if like that isn't a part of it. Like getting things out and knowing that people are listening to it, that gives me energy to make more music, of course.
Definitely. It's kind of a relationship where you communicate back and forth with the people who listen to your music. And I think especially, I mean, the kind of music you make is as we've said, is melancholic. It has this special texture that really moves you. And I think that's an interesting relationship to take into account.
Yeah. And for a lot of other electronic music producers, I think that where they connect with fans is on nightclubs and live shows, and that's never been the case with me, really. I haven't played that much live or DJ sets with as Bård.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm too busy playing double bass all the time, but also because I think my kind of music is it's not very easy to find the good place to play it live.
No.
it's more of a lonely experience to listen to it. I think it's like headphone music a lot.
Yeah.
So my relationship with my fans is more that people are listening to it on their own. I think more than like live shows and nightclubs and stuff.
Yeah. And right now, as a composer and artist, what's your feeling about where your music is going? Are you excited about a certain thing, or?
Yeah, I'm. It's kind of hard because I with my own music, I'm like right now taking it some different directions at the same time. So I have some songs that I work with that are more like acoustic and like a more like pop songs, like Before We Drown that I did with Stella on the last album. More of that, and then I also have some songs where I go more to the electronic, more like beat direction.
Oh, really?
A little bit heavier. Like the song coming out on Friday is more. It's like a pretty electronic sound.
Yes.
And then I've also been starting doing some like jungle and drum and bass music.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, you were inspired a lot by 90s UK, right?
Yeah.
So that's exciting.
I might actually release a jungle EP at some point.
Wow.
But I'm a bit confused now because I have these 3 very different things. And I don't know if I can release them under the same name or if I don't know. We'll see.
But that's truly exciting, though, that you're trying out these new things and directions.
Yeah, it's fun. I can't help myself.
No. I think that's part of the process, right? That's fun.
Yeah.
And for anyone who would like to find you and find your music and get it, where would you recommend them to go?
I don't know, anywhere you want. If you search my artist name, you can listen on Spotify, or you can buy the records online at my label's website. I don't know where you can find the vinyl cheapest, but
I mean, it's some really beautiful, great vinyl editions, both of Misplaced and Static. So I would definitely advise people to check that out on Anjuna Deep.
I'm very happy with how they turned out.
Yes.
And I'm on SoundCloud, and you can find the music anywhere you like. I think I don't really care where people listen to it.
Perfect. That's a great closing, I think. So thank you so much, Bård, for coming over today.
Thank you. It was a really good time.
Yes, and we'll be looking forward to the release on today, actually,
great
when the
timing.
podcast is releasing.
Great timing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that's it for episode 8 of Electronic Talks podcast. As usual, we're on all the audio platforms, but also on YouTube. Make sure to follow us there and subscribe if you want to see more interviews like this. Thank you very much, and see you soon again.